Well, howdy, y'all. This is Brad with Main Stage Music. I want to thank you guys again for visiting us here online. We got a cool live stream. This is the Vintage Guitar Voyage. And today we have got a treat. We had somebody mention that they haven't seen us do a Rickenbacker out of the pile yet, so today is our Rickenbacker episode. So if you've not already done so, make sure you not only follow Main Stage Music on Facebook, but like us. And also, if you're not already on YouTube subscribing us, go ahead and do that, because we got all sorts of cool live footage we do, and there's always other stuff you can check out. Okay, so Rickenbacker. You know, Rickenbacker is a very cool guitar brand. It's American. You know, a lot of people heard the founder's name was Adolf Rickenbacker and thought this was European, especially because bands like the Beatles and the Who, a lot of British players were more visible with Rickenbacker instruments than a lot of American players were. So, no, Rickenbacker is a West Coast brand, always has been. Rickenbacker, kind of a neat thing, has the distinction of, if you will, inventing the electric guitar. I know. Actually, the very first electric guitar was, they called it the frying pan, which was made by Rickenbacker. It was just a little bitty lap steel, which is basically an electric dobro. And it was made out of steel, okay, aluminum or whatever, and they had a big horseshoe-style pickup on it that that produced the sound. So hence the very first popularized electric guitar was a Rickenbacker. But of course, this is not that style of guitar. So what this guitar is this is a 12-string electric. And look at my mic stand being all cute. Okay, hang on a second here. Technical difficulties, yep. That ought to get it. Okay, so anyways, what you've got here is an electric 12-string. So you've got 12 strings like a traditional 12-string would have, but of course it uses the electric nickel-style strings instead of the bronze strings that you would have on an acoustic guitar. There's another really important distinction on a Rickenbacker 12-string, is that it's kind of strung backwards, and this is what I mean by that. For people who have 12-string guitars, I'll use this little thing here. You'll notice that on this Rickenbacker, the fat string is before the skinny string. So for people who don't know about 12 strings, you have 12 strings, 6 of them are like a regular guitar set. The other 6 are an octave higher. So listen. You have a low string and a high one, 1 octave above it. And when you play them together, you get that cool chimey sound. But on a traditional 12-string, the first string, okay, is the thin one, then the fat string. Now you might go, why is that? Well, because when you strum a 12-string, playing that thinner string first is easier for the pick to grab, and therefore you get that fuller, chimier sound. But on a Rickenbacker, they made that cracking is another cool thing about vintage guitars. They have old bits and pieces. Anyways, but that on a Rickenbacker, they made the choice to put the fat string first and then the thin string. It basically made, you still got the chimey sound, but it was a little bit more subdued. And people will say, well, that's part of the Rickenbacker sound. It's not as overpowering. So it's not as overpowering as a traditional, acoustic style 12-string. Now, this model is called the 360. They did make the electric 12-string in a few different models. They had the 330, which was hollow like this, but a little bit less ornate. It didn't have the bindings and whatnot on it. And they made a model called the 381, which was really ornate, had beautiful carved top and back. Now, this 360 is a 1967 model. Now, the earlier 360s made, I want to say before 66, I guess, would have had double binding. Now, what I mean by that is bindings are these little trim pieces that go along the edge of a guitar. This one's really pretty. Rickenbackers were great for this. You can see that it's actually a checkerboard style binding. You see how it has almost that rope look to it? But on the 60, the reimagined one, they just have the binding on the back, and the top is actually a rounded top. So what this is the back is separate from the top. The top is all a carved out piece or chambered out piece, and then the back is attached. Really a unique design. See how it's got this really pretty contoured area in the back here? And even the tailpiece, how cool is that? It's got an R for Rickenbacker. I'm going to talk about this tailpiece next. So 12 strings require obviously 12 places to anchor the strings into. This right here is one of the reasons why so many people turned to alcohol and drugs in the 1960s if they played 12 strings. Restringing these stupid things will absolutely make you crazy. First of all, it's a cast tailpiece, okay? That means it's not just stamped out metal. It doesn't just have holes in it. It's actually cast, and so you have to slide the strings. The strings are only held in there by the backwards, the forward tension, of the string. Which means if you just set it in there and then go to string it up front, the string pops out. Now you have to think, the first one, challenging. Next one, more challenging. By the time you get about halfway there, you're going, how in the heck? I can't find where these strings are supposed to go. It's absolutely maddening. So I'm going to share with you a little secret of putting strings on a Rickenbacker 12-string. Go down to the hardware store, and you can buy from 3M, I believe it's called blue painter's tape. We use it quite a bit. Painter's tape is nice because it is a very low tack tape, so you can put it on a wall, and when you pull it up, it doesn't pull the paint off. So what I did here was you put all the strings in, then you put a piece of the blue low tack tape on the back of this, then you put the tailpiece on and string it up. Then when it's done, I love this. Sorry about that, guys. Then when it's done, you can just peel the tape off and everything's good with the world. So it still took a long time to do. Let me show you the headstock of this guitar. You can see it looks like a normal size headstock. But if you look a little closer, let me get it here. There we are. You can see that they used a normal size headstock, but then they put 12 keys on it. Looks crazy. You've got, on each side, 3 going the normal way, and then 3 going down. And I know it's kind of tough to see, but you can see there are slots run through the middle of the headstock. That's kind of an angle you can see it at. Sorry. And you actually go ahead and just mute that channel. That way if we have an accident. Okay, so anyways, those slots have the keys that go sideways. So 3 of the strings are going like a slotted headstock, or excuse me, 6, and then the other 6 are like a traditional peg head. And you get this extremely discombobulated looking mess there. Now, I will say that once they're all on there, it's fairly easy to get around and get it, where it needs to go. But I'll tell you what, getting it to that point is really tough and not fun at all. Now, another neat thing about the Rickenbacker 360 versus the lesser expensive models is that they gave you these nice, what they call toaster pickups. If you want to do the zoom in again, not at the headstock, the zoom in on the body. There you go. Yeah, he'll figure it out. So they call them toaster pickups because, well, they look like toasters. And they actually have a neat little rubber grommet underneath them. They're actually kind of floating right on the top. And so really, it's not like you think of when a pickup, normally you have these cavities that the pickup sits down in. These are sitting on top of the guitar. So it has a very, full and acoustic feel to the guitar. It's very resonant because you don't really have a lot going to it. Additionally, look at the pick guard, how it's done. The pick guard is also kind of floating on the top. You have 2 levels, which is really a sharp look, I think. And again, Rickenbacker just did an amazing job with the details on these guitars. You can't help but think, if you were a rock star back in the 50s and 60s and you wanted something that really stood out and looked great, you can see why so many artists just wanted a Rickenbacker, both now and back in the day. Let's talk about the controls real quick. Oh, by the way, I want to let you guys know, if you have any questions, I do have my phone here, and let me just make sure that that I don't already have some. Okay, so I do have my phone here. So, yeah, so we've got our friend Robert on there, very quality guitar. I've got a funny story about Robert and a Rickenbacker. One time, Robert, who plays in a local band called well, actually, no, it's called the Muse Hazard Band now. But anyways, Robert came out to a show that we were playing, and I was playing my 360. It was a blue one that I've got. And Robert goes, "Hey, I want to play a song." And normally I don't let people do that, but Robert's a professional musician, so I did. But I was also playing through a vintage Fender Vibrochamp that I just bought, and I hadn't had the plug grounded. Now, if you do that and you're using the same plug for your sound system that you're using a non-grounded plug, you are going to absolutely shock the crap out of your mouth from that microphone, because you are the ground. And so when you get on there, zap, it's pretty invigorating. So Robert, I didn't tell him that I was staying away from the microphone a solid 3-4 inches. And Robert has a tendency of liking to eat the microphone, like a lot of singers do. So anyways, he got on the gig and he starts playing it. He gets up on the mic and it shocked the crap out of his face. He just stopped and goes, "It shocked my nose." And then, of course, people didn't know what they were talking about. It was pretty ridiculous. Anyways, that's my Robert Rickenbacker story. Okay, so let's get back to what we were talking about. So this has got the toaster pickups, which are their deluxe humbucking style pickups. And you had a very neat feature unique to Rickenbacker at the time they called Rico Sound, okay? Now, some people think, go ahead down that angle on this camera here. Some people think that you got 2 outputs, so it must be a stereo guitar. It is a stereo guitar, okay? But you have your standard mono plug here, and then you have the Rico Sound plug here. Anyone who's had a Rickenbacker will tell you, if you plug a standard cable in here into one amp and then figure this is go to the other amp, it does not work. This is a stereo, or TRS, output jack. So you need a special cable that goes from TRS, or tip ring sleeve or stereo, out to 2 mono cables that then you would send to the different areas, different amplifiers that you might have. So that's how Rico Sound works. And there's no difference in the controls with Rico Sound. You just get to hear that coil through 2 different amps. It's really a great sound. You can hear it on a lot of recordings. They made this for both bass and guitar. So that's a really neat feature. Now, another feature that Rickenbacker had that was different than a lot of manufacturers is, we'll say, this phantom knob right here. Now, some people are like, yeah, what's the deal here? I mean, if you're a guitar player, you could be like going, oh, wait a minute, I got your toggle switch. Okay, so you got your bridge pickup, and well, I'll just let you hear that. So you got a really bright, and then you've got a neck position, which is that big swollen sound, right? In the middle, you had both. So you've got the volume control for both your bridge and neck position, and then the corresponding tone controls for the bridge and neck. So what's this guy? This is a blend pot. So what a blend pot is it's kind of like this switch, this toggle. But imagine your toggle switch was a knob going back and forth. Now what's neat about that is that you can then say, instead of just having I want 100% on this pickup or 100% on this one, or in both 50%, you can actually say, I only want, let's say 20% this and 80% that. So let me let you hear the difference, okay? So here's your, let's say, bridge position. Can you hear how it's coming in now? Then there's all the way to the... But see, this way, the player can blend how much of the bridge or neck position he wants. It's really a pretty ingenious little... Pretty neat little feature that they did with that. The inlay work on this guitar, they have, I guess some people have called them the shark tooth inlays. But what's really neat about it, if you can kind of see, now these, of course, this guitar is, already 56 years old. It fitting to get its Social Security. But the inlay is actually a glittered, like stone glitter looking inlay. It's really neat. It's not like your normal mother of toilet seat or just plain plastic or even abalone shell. It is a really unique like stone glitter inlay. Oh, okay, I got some questions coming in here. Let me help you guys. All right. Robert Hazard, it was funny. Especially for us watching it, because I'll tell you what, man, that was comedy gold. Didn't Tom Petty play these guitars? Absolutely. Tom Petty is a huge Rickenbacker fan, and actually had his own signature model Rickenbacker made in the late 80s, early 90s. It was a solid body model, though, not a hollow body. 65 jet glow, 67 jet glow. Thanks, Jerry. So now, what does jet glow mean? Well, because, again, Rickenbacker is a forward-thinking, very cool company, they couldn't just call it black or even just call it ebony. They came up with their own code words for their finishes. So this one, lending to the 1960s cool space race time, was called Jet Glow. Very cool. If it was a natural finish, meaning just, a sealed natural maple wood, they called that Maple Glow. The most common finish that you see is the cherry around the edges that fades into kind of that natural color. That's what you saw George Harrison with the Beatles play, and they called that Fire Glow. All three of those finishes are popular. Of course, as the days went on, you would start seeing custom colors. So, Jet Glow, Maple Glow, and Fire Glow were your standard, finishes that are kind of always in the selection. But even now, they'll come up with special colors. By the 80s, I know they were doing reds and blues and all sorts of stuff. My other 360 is in a, I guess they call it like a midnight blue or I don't know, something. But it's a blue color. So, yeah, they definitely do different finishes and so on. But yeah, back in the day, though, this was it. This case is also pretty cool. It was silver with the black trimmings and the blue interior. So back in the 60s, this is what they did. Now, by the 70s, they kind of got boring with them, and they just went to plain black. And from the 80s forward, you basically just have the standard SKB-style plastic molded hard shell, which is a very good case. It just ain't sexy. So anyways, the Rickenbacker 360-12. I mean, so many people have played this. It's a wonderful guitar. Now, the last single thing I'm going to say about it, okay, and then I'll let you guys get on with your whatever, is that the neck on this guitar is very thin, okay? I have big old gorilla hands, okay? This is a very thin neck. To have 12 strings all cramped in there, you guys are probably going, oh, man, Brad's having really a bad night here. I guess. I don't know. I mean, the biggest issue is I can't squeeze my fingers all in there to get a good, clean chord. So then the problem is that your fingers tend to touch other strings and one little thing I'll tell you, back in the 1990s, I called Rickenbacker and I said, I want a Rickenbacker 381 V69 12 string, and I'll pay extra, but I want it to have a 1 3/4 inch nut width, because I had struggled with these so much. That's why I rarely ever play this guitar. You know what their answer was? No, hell no, because Rickenbacker doesn't care. They're a great company. They make great stuff, but they don't do custom orders. They don't care how much money you got. So yeah, don't even ask, because the answer is no. But anyways, still love the guitars. They get such a unique sound, and you can't help, the style is just all there. So, but anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure that you share our videos and our posts and stuff like that, because it helps other folks know, hey, what's going on here. And we'll see you next time.